In one of my previous videos about TOEFL writing, I promised to analyze one of my students' writing responses. Many of you liked this idea, so that is what we're going to do today. I won't spend your time analyzing every grammar and vocabulary mistake in detail. Instead, I want to show you that very often your score can be lower than you expect regardless of your grammar and vocabulary. It will also show you how small changes can either increase or decrease your writing score, and explain why you shouldn't rely only on AI to improve your TOEFL writing results. If you are currently preparing for the TOEFL test, feel free to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the upcoming videos. More speaking and writing analyses will be coming soon. First of all, let's begin with the question I get all the time. Can I prepare for TOEFL writing using ChatGPT only? Again, I'm not against AI, and I actually encourage students to use it for grammar and vocabulary corrections. Not all of its corrections are perfect, but it's still better than having no feedback at all. However, there are several reasons why I wouldn't suggest relying on it completely. First of all, AI can often confuse you instead of helping you. For example, students who currently work with AI usually face one of two problems. Either they receive scores that are higher than their real level, which gives them false hope, or this is something I see quite often these days, they receive scores that are lower than what their essay truly deserves. You might be thinking now, well, what's the big deal? If ChatGPT gives me a score lower than my real score, then on test day I will be positively surprised. But no, the problem is that AI will often suggest ways to increase your score, and sometimes those suggestions can actually lower it. Besides, AI corrections can make you focus on things that are not very important. So you spend too much time trying to reach a score that may not even reflect your real TOEFL level. Even more importantly, many students lose motivation. They start thinking that they're bad at writing, and as a result, they may underperform on the test, simply because of extra anxiety. If you have watched my videos about TOEFL speaking, you already know how anxiety can damage your score. So that is something we definitely want to avoid. Finally, many students start trying to write like AI. Their essays become unnatural, overly general, and sometimes too polished in a mechanical way. This can also hurt their scores because TOEFL writing is not about sounding impressive. It's about answering the question clearly, developing your ideas logically, and using language effectively. So to recap, feel free to use AI to correct your essays. However, make sure it's not your only tool. Your writing evaluation should not depend on AI alone. Use your own judgment. Read the official scoring rubrics, study high-scoring sample responses, and develop an approach that helps you practice each part of the writing section until the process becomes more automatic. You should know how to understand the question, organize your answer, develop your ideas, and explain your reasoning clearly. Also work on your critical thinking skills. I've noticed that students who use AI too much often have more trouble understanding the questions in the Write for an Academic Discussion task. They'll lose points not because their English is weak, but because they simply don't know what to write, what arguments to give, or how to elaborate on their reasons. So instead of asking ChatGPT to correct every essay you write, it may be more useful to take 10 Write for an Academic Discussion tasks and analyze them carefully. Think about what arguments you could give, what ideas you could include, and how you could explain those ideas in a clear and easy to understand way. This will help you much more than simply trying to imitate sample responses produced by AI. Now, let's analyze the email. Now you can see the email that one of my students showed me during our first class. She had consistently been scoring around 22 to 23 in the writing section, which is approximately 4.5 on the current 1 to 6 scale. But she needed a 25, which is approximately 5 on the current scale. On the ETS practice test, this email was scored 4 out of 5, where 5 is the raw score for an individual writing task. Why? At first glance, it looks like a good email. She uses polite language, follows a clear structure, addresses the bullet points, and does not make too many grammar or vocabulary mistakes. Her level of English is advanced, and yet the score is still not high enough. There are several problems that I can immediately spot, even without analyzing the response in detail. First, look at the word count. The email is only 103 words, and in my opinion, that is a little too short for a high-scoring response. As a general target, I would suggest writing at least 115 to 120 words. And remember, the important thing is not to make your opening or closing sentence longer. The important thing is to develop the main body of the email. You should write more about the bullet points and add more specific details. Don't simply try to make the email longer by expanding the closing sentence or using memorized expressions. For example, I often see students use the phrase, "I hope this email finds you well." It's a good opener, but I don't really suggest using it if you are an advanced student and can write your own natural opening. This brings me to the second point I can immediately notice in this email. Look at how little is written in the body paragraph. Many students make the mistake of only trying to address the bullet points. Instead, you should try to add about 10 to 20% of new information, something that was not directly given in the task. The third thing I want to mention is sentence structure. First of all, American English usually does not favor excessively long sentences in everyday emails. So very often, students who are used to writing long sentences in their native languages have problems with this task. Remember, each sentence has to be easy to understand. In this case, look at this sentence. For the future events, though, I would suggest having it in a bigger location since it was really packed and we could not barely move. First of all, we don't need the definite article before future events. These are not specific events. We're talking about future events in general, and when we generalize with plural nouns, we usually don't use the. Also, the word really is misspelled. We need two L's there. Moreover, we can't say we could not barely move. We can say we could barely move. In standard English, we usually avoid double negatives in sentences like this. However, all of these mistakes are relatively minor. They may affect the score a little, but they're not the biggest problem here. The bigger problem is that the sentence is too long and not immediately clear. The reader has to make an effort to understand it. So instead, let's break it into two shorter sentences and make the pronoun it clearer. For example, you can write, for future events, though, I would suggest choosing a bigger location. The venue was relatively small, so it got really packed and we could barely move. Notice that we use commas on both sides of though when it interrupts the sentence. We also stop after location because one idea is complete. Then we continue with the explanation. So make sure to avoid excessively long sentences. And whenever you use a pronoun such as they, it, he, or she, always make sure it's clear what or who exactly you're referring to. Also, the way you organize ideas within sentences is very important. This is where the first task in the writing section, the build a sentence task, can be really useful. Many students don't like this task, but it actually helps you work carefully on sentence structure. It teaches you how to organize subjects, verbs, objects, and other sentence parts in a clear and logical way. This can make your writing much clearer and more natural in the other two tasks. Write an email and write for an academic discussion, and it can also help improve your score. If you want to practice this type of task, you can do it on the LinguaTOEFL platform. We made this task even harder than it is on test day. You will have many more word chunks than on the real test. So you can learn how to build simple, compound, and complex sentences almost from scratch. After you master the tasks on the platform, the test will feel much easier, and you will probably notice a big improvement in your email and academic discussion responses as well. Point number 4 is related to the closing sentence. In this email, we have 2 closing sentences, and that is something I suggest avoiding. As you can see, the student is spending time writing. Hope you understand it, and thanks again for the great event you made. Looking forward for the upcoming ones. This is too long, and it won't really contribute to a higher score. Of course, it's useful to include a closing sentence because it gives your email a better structure, but you only need 1 short sentence, not 2. We also don't really need to write, "I hope you understand it." It's not necessary. You can thank the recipient once again for the event, but even that is not the most important part of the email. Instead of spending time on long closing sentences, the student could have used this time to write more about the bullet points. That would have helped her score much more. Also, look at these closing sentences. They contain several mistakes. First of all, "hope you understand it" is a bit informal and slightly unnatural in this context. I would change it to "I hope you understand, and thanks again for organizing such a great event." In the second sentence, it should be "looking forward to," not "looking forward for." Also, the word "ones" is unclear. Instead, it would be better to write "I look forward to the upcoming events," or "I look forward to attending future events." This brings me to point number 5. You should only use closing sentences that you fully trust. That's why in this video, I recommend using the same closing sentence in all emails, as long as it's correct and natural. This way, you won't make extra mistakes, and you will be able to focus more on writing the body paragraph correctly. Overall, the email is good, and the score of 4 out of 5 makes sense. However, if you need to get a higher score, and these days many students do need a higher result, you can fix the small details I just mentioned and improve your results quite quickly. Let me know if you want me to create another video with a more detailed analysis of the grammar and vocabulary mistakes. I can explain which words sound unnatural and which ones can be replaced with stronger and more precise alternatives. Also, don't forget to let me know your target writing score, both your current score and the score you need to get. I wish you all a stellar TOEFL score. See you in the next episode. Bye.